So I was like not thrilled with the idea of no kissy kissy, and but I respected his choice.
She did. Welcome to Real Talk with Michael and Lisa.
Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to talk about something a little bit more steamy.
Steamy? I was thinking a little bit more vulnerable.
Yes, definitely more vulnerable. We are going to talk to you. We want to share with you just a decision that we made. We made this decision and acted it out, or...
Yeah, we made this decision several years ago.
Yes.
And I know for me, the decision was made before I ever met Lisa.
And I made the same decision before I met Michael.
Yeah, and that decision was to keep our intimacy, our sexuality as sacred inside of marriage. And as a Christian, most people have a pretty strong grid for keeping sex inside of marriage, no sex outside of marriage. Actually, to be more honest, most people that grow up as Christian have a strong grid for no sex outside of marriage. And
it's usually kind of preached and taught and held through fear.
yeah, we've used punishment, we used pain, we've used fear to keep people from intimacy or sexual intimacy before they get married. And you know, honestly, we did that because it was effective. Scaring people, especially scaring girls about how painful it could be or uncomfortable and all these other things, and how God hates it and it's sin, and
How you could get pregnant and you don't want to ruin your life.
yeah, I've heard so many stories to scare people into purity. And
So we want to share our story and a little bit of our why we chose to wait. Now, if you've been watching for a while, you know a little bit of our story. I was married 20 years.
I was married for 19 years, so I regularly defer to Lisa for advice and how-tos.
And we both were widowed in the fall of 2015. And 2 years later, we began dating. And we talked about the idea of purity. We shared that was both of our hearts.
Yes.
And we chose to wait until we got married to consecrate our marriage and our relationship.
Yes, that is the nice, clean version. And it's true. It's honest, but it's the nice, clean version. Are you sure we want to give them the whole version?
Well, there were a few hiccups along the way.
Yes, so we both have been married for quite some time. So if you do the math, Lisa thinks this sounds kind of bad, but if you do the math, we each have had sex with our prior spouses
Possibly a couple thousand times.
thousands of times. So it was very familiar, very easy, and you know, we've actually kind of enjoyed it a lot.
And we then fell in love with somebody else, and we wanted to experience that same level of intimacy and connection, and but we weren't married.
Yeah, and you know, some of you already know my story, and I'll just be super brief. I had struggled with addiction to porn and masturbation, and I had come out of that into a level of sobriety from the addiction, and then came into freedom, understanding the beauty and the value and the intention and the purpose behind intimacy and sexuality. And that freedom turned into incredible intimacy in my first marriage. So I had that here and here, but I met a really beautiful woman and we started dating. And things were going great, and we knew we wanted to maintain purity and integrity,
But he kisses really nice.
and she kisses back even better. And before you know it, it's easy to get a little bit of a hard on and to start thinking about what could be next once we're married. And, from a Christian perspective, we didn't have intercourse. We didn't have sex.
But we did go past peace. What do we mean by that? Like, we went past what our purity standards were that we had set for ourselves as a couple and individually, and we felt conviction afterwards.
Yeah, and I'm going to be, in the moment, we didn't feel conviction. In the moment, we felt a lot of heat and passion and excitement, and we stopped short of intercourse, but there were times where I touched Lisa in places that only her husband should touch her. And
we experienced some orgasms.
Yeah, we both gave and received some orgasms before we were married. And there were 3 different occasions. And the first time we came back after this the next day, and we talked about it. And, we could have had shame. We could have judged each other. And
we repented.
And the position I took was, listen, as the man, I am designated to lead in this relationship, and I did not do that well last night or the last couple days. And so I owned my failure, and I let Lisa know I am created to lead in this relationship, and intimacy and purity, staying on this side, the peace side of peace, is all part of my job as the leader in our relationship. So I'm going to reset the standard, if you will forgive me, and we also brought God into this process to forgive. And we reset the standard. And did we only do that once? No, I mentioned already we did that 3 specific times.
Yeah. And again, we repented and reset. And even one time we went to the prayer chapel and had communion. Like, our hearts were honestly really sincere. But the struggle is real.
And the third time I even let Lisa know, hey, I reset the standard. I reset and got forgiveness from Lisa and from God. And I even said, hey, we have 6 weeks till the touchdown. Till the wedding day. And I am not going to kiss you for 6 weeks, because I want to be the one carrying this purity. And I know if I start kissing, I have discovered that it leads to more. And Lisa thought that was super popular.
No, I wasn't really thrilled about it, because I felt like, well, kissing wasn't as much of a gateway for me. Like, yes, it does lead to things, but I was like, oh, I'm in control. So I was like not thrilled with the idea of no kissy. And, but I respected his choice.
She did.
And that the way he was leading, and that he took it so seriously. And in the end, I felt very protected. I felt very honored. And there
were even 2 times where I leaned in for a kiss when I was going out the door goodnight, which wouldn't have led to more than just a quick peck on the cheek. And she was like, heck no. And so thank you for keeping me from that. Thank you for helping me. So she did. But all of this that we just told you, all of this, the history in the Christian denomination, Christian religion, has been fear, resist, don't sin. And we have a proposal that we would like to give you. There is a better reason than fear, because if you use fear to maintain purity outside of marriage, then fear is also going to be the same motivator you're going to be defaulting to inside of marriage when it comes to sex. If fear keeps you from sex on the outside, fear will keep you rough sex inside of marriage.
Yeah. So we want to actually set you up for success. Now, like I said, we recognize the struggle is real, and we do a lot of coaching with singles and with couples. And by far, it is the number one issue that people are struggling with.
Forget the people we're coaching. Let's talk about us. We struggled with this big time.
It was a lot more difficult to wait the second marriage than it was the first. And a part of it is because you know what you're missing. And it's amazing. But we want to set you up for success. So we're going to split this into a 2-part video so that you can get more keys and tools. and reasons why, because we want to strengthen your why. Your why has to be in place. You can't do it out of rules. That doesn't work. Is that a great motivator?
Well, it works. There we go. It works. But anytime rules, by default, that's a fear motivator.
Yeah.
And anything that is created out of fear ends up needing fear to maintain it. You can switch at any time, and it's not, the longer you go, the harder it is to switch. So we'll talk about what is that love motivator look like for saving that intimacy and saving sex for inside of marriage.
Yes. Love versus fear as your strong why to wait.
Thank you.